You dumped me, so you're trash and you can just leave. Then I'll leave right now. My name is Jessica Miller. I've been married to my husband, Edward, for 3 years. I'm a housewife, and we usually spend the weekends going out together or just enjoying each other's company. We don't have kids yet, but we're not in a rush. We believe it will happen when it's meant to. Until then, we've agreed to enjoy our time together and lead a fulfilling life. Hello, Jessica? Sorry to call out of the blue. I need to talk. Can we meet up soon? The trouble started with a call from my friend, Summer. Summer and I weren't super close, but we weren't estranged either. We caught up from time to time. What's up? You sound serious. Of course, I'm here to listen if you need me. Thanks. How about next Saturday? Just a sec. Yeah, Saturday works for me. Great. Let's meet at 11 at Blue Sky Cafe. Okay. See you next week. Summer sounded down, almost serious. It was enough to make me worry. Then, on the day we were supposed to meet. Sorry to keep you waiting. Jessica, it's been a while. How have you been? I've been good. And you, Summer? I'm okay, but... Summer's expression turned grim. I could tell something was up. Let's go inside and talk about it. How about we chat over lunch? Yeah, thanks. We entered the cafe and ordered lunch. Sipping our drinks, we waited for our food in silence. Summer sat in silence, her gaze fixed downwards. The quietness filled the air with an awkward tension, reminiscent of the atmosphere after a quarrel. Hey Summer, what's going on? You've been acting strange since you called. As I broached the subject, Summer suddenly teared up and apologized. I'm so sorry. I was completely baffled by Summer's behavior, standing there dumbfounded. I racked my brain trying to figure out what she was apologizing for, but I couldn't think of any reason at all. What? What's going on? What are you apologizing for? She slowly looked up, her face uneasy, and began to explain. Actually, I have a boyfriend. Oh? And? It turns out he's your husband, Edward. What? I was stunned by Summer's words. Seeing my reaction, Summer looked down again. I didn't know. We were talking about marriage, and I had no idea he was already married. Wait, hold on. Are you really talking about my husband? I couldn't believe it and asked Summer for confirmation. My husband at home never showed any suspicious behavior, so it was hard to believe. Is this the wrong guy? Summer handed me her smartphone. I took it and saw a picture of Summer with a man, and indeed, it was my husband, Edward. I was speechless, just staring at the image on the phone. It's your husband, right? I'm really sorry. Seeing my reaction and realizing the truth, Summer continued to apologize. I couldn't accept the reality yet and asked Summer. So, how long has this been going on? About a year. A year? Apparently, they had been involved for a year. Thinking back, I couldn't recall any changes in my husband's behavior or words. If I had been at your wedding, I might have realized it when we met. But I couldn't attend, so I had no idea he was your husband. Summer started crying. It seemed clear she hadn't known. I see. Thanks for telling me. But I can't just accept this. I'm sorry. I was too shocked to easily forgive. Before even considering forgiveness, I needed to sort out my feelings. It's understandable. If there's anything I can do to make it up to you, just say it. I won't mind if you ask for compensation. Let me think about it. Okay. Our food had arrived during our conversation, but neither of us felt like eating. We left the cafe without touching the dishes. So, I guess this is goodbye for now. Yeah. We parted without making eye contact, and as I walked home lost in thought, I found myself at my doorstep before I knew it. That night. Hey, is it true you're cheating on me with Summer? I asked my husband directly when he returned from work. He choked on his food in surprise. What are you talking about all of a sudden? My husband, coughing, reached for his tea. His obvious panic made it clear that the story was true. Summer, you know, is my friend. What? He seemed shocked, probably not expecting his affair to be with his wife's friend. Looking as surprised as if he had been shot. No, I mean, yes, Summer is a friend. You must be misunderstanding something. Really? You discuss marriage with friends, huh? No, it's just a joke. Interesting. So you kiss your friends too? It's just friendly affection. He avoided eye contact and responded with a forced smile. I realized then how quickly my feelings for him had cooled. Let's get a divorce. What? Divorce? Isn't that a bit extreme? I can't be with someone who talks about marriage and kisses their friends. I'll pick up the divorce papers tomorrow. Wait. I understand. I'll break it off with Summer and it won't happen again. It's too late for that. Good night. My husband was still saying something, but I ignored him and headed towards the bedroom. However, since we shared the same bedroom, I decided to sleep in a different room. After dinner, he came to the room where I was lying, but I pretended to be asleep and stayed that way. The next day, after he went to work, I left the bedroom, got ready, and went to the office to get divorce papers. As I was about to leave the house, I saw an email from my husband. Let's talk seriously tonight. I didn't reply and went to pick up the papers. Upon returning home, I filled them out, packed my things, and left the house. Feeling uncomfortable even being there after his infidelity. I left the divorce papers on the table. Back at my parents' house, I explained everything to them. And they supported my decision to divorce. A few days later, I contacted Summer and told her I would be seeking alimony from my husband but not from her, as she was unaware of the situation. She cried and apologized again. After some time, I realized that Summer too was a victim. She had unknowingly dated a married man and then learned he was her friend's husband, which must have been difficult for her. Summer helped me with the alimony claim, providing evidence. I asked her many questions I couldn't ask at Blue Sky Cafe, like how she realized he was married. I asked Summer how she realized he was married. She told me that once, while they were together, my husband fell asleep with his smartphone open, displaying his schedule. A day-marked wedding anniversary caught her eye, and she impulsively looked through his phone. She found photos of me and our wedding, which shocked her, causing her to accidentally drop the phone. Fortunately, it fell on the carpet and didn't break, but her hands were trembling as she picked it up, realizing she couldn't continue the relationship. Even though she could have ended things right there, knowing I was her friend's wife, she felt she couldn't just ignore it and decided to tell me. I thanked Summer for telling me. If she hadn't, I would still be blissfully married without knowing my husband's true nature. I was glad to have learned the truth. Summer and I reconciled, and we even planned to have a revenge lunch to make up for the last one. After moving back to my parents' house, my husband incessantly contacted me, insisting on not getting a divorce. I will never divorce you. Let's try again. I'm sure we can make it work. How many times do I have to say it? I've completely lost my feelings for you. Don't be stubborn. I won't cheat again. From now on, I'll only love you. His cliché lines did nothing for me. I completely refused him. No matter what you say, it's over. Can't you just agree to the divorce? You're just being emotional. You still love me. Let's overcome this and start over. Realizing this was going nowhere, I decided to involve a lawyer, including for alimony. As soon as the lawyer got involved, he was shaken and quickly agreed to the divorce, smoothing the process of alimony payment and divorce settlement. I sighed, wondering where all his previous insistence had gone. Years later, I've moved out of my parents' house and live alone while working a new job. I've been fortunate to find a good partner at my new job, and I recently remarried. My current husband, David Johnson, accepts my past and is very kind. He gets along well with my parents. My in-laws are also very affectionate, and we spend a great deal of time together, including the holidays. Since meeting and marrying my current husband, I've found myself smiling more. Then one day, I received a call from an unknown number, and to my surprise, it was my ex-husband. Hey, how are you? What do you want? My ex-husband Edward sounded unusually cheerful on the phone, almost creepily so. I'm getting married soon. Oh, congratulations. For some reason, he was telling me, his ex-wife, about his upcoming wedding. I couldn't tell if it was some sort of harassment or something else. I want you to come to the wedding. What? Why? It's like sharing my happiness. I did 'cause you trouble, after all. No, don't worry about me. Don't be so cold. I've already sent the invitation to your parents' house. See ya. Wait, hold on. He hung up before I could say anything more. Why would I need to go to my ex-husband's wedding? I decided to call my parents. Mom, did an invitation to a wedding arrive for me? Let me check. Oh, there is one from Edward. What's this about? That's the thing. I explained the phone call with Edward. My mom was just as baffled as I was. You're going to decline, right? Of course. I don't see any reason to go. Relieved, she agreed to send a refusal on my behalf. I thanked her and ended the call. I told my current husband, David, about the situation, and he was just as bewildered. A few days later, Edward called again. Why did you decline the invitation? It's obvious, isn't it? I'm sure the bride wouldn't want her husband's ex-wife at the wedding. Besides, I'm remarried now, and I don't need any happiness sharing from you. They can't even tell that you're my ex-wife. And you're saying you've remarried? Stop with such obvious lies, just come anyway. It's not a lie. I'm really busy with work, and I won't be able to make it. I insist you come. I'll count you in for the wedding. What? I won't go, no matter what you do. No, you must come. See ya. He hung up again, leaving me bewildered. Why was he so insistent on me attending? It seems like he must be plotting something. I consulted with David, and after a moment's thought, he asked for the wedding details. When and where is the wedding? Let's see, it's next month. At Cinderella Wedding. I see. Next month, Cinderella Wedding. How about we go together? What? You see. To my surprise, David had also been invited to the same wedding. He was unsure about going, but decided to join if I was going. On the wedding day, David and I arrived at the venue and checked in. I'll be right back from the restroom. David went to the bathroom and I sat nearby, waiting for him. That's when Edward approached. So, you did come after all. Alone. He had a smug, unsettling smile on his face. Edward's smile was eerily unsettling. No, I was just. Come on, don't just stand here. Let's go inside. Saying that, Edward grabbed my arm and started pulling me into the venue. Ouch. Let go. Ignoring my protests, he forcefully dragged me into the chapel, where the ceremony was to be held, and made me sit down. Stay here, okay? Hey! Edward hurried off before I could say anything more. Seeing him after so long, he seemed harsher, and I even felt a bit scared. After a while, my husband David came to me with a worried look. I was looking for you. Wondered where you went. Just came out of the restroom and got caught up talking to someone I know. Sorry for being late. It's okay, don't worry. I'm fine. I didn't want to worry David, so I kept the incident with Edward to myself. Soon, the ceremony started. After it was over and during the flower shower, I caught Edward's eye. He seemed to grimace slightly when he saw David next to me, but quickly looked away and left. Moving to the reception hall, David and I were about to enter when he was approached by a group of men. Apparently, business acquaintances. Seeing his concern for me, I smiled reassuringly. Don't worry about me. Go ahead, I'll find our seats. I went in to find our seats but couldn't find my name anywhere. Oh no? I can't seem to find my name. David's name was there, but the name next to his was someone else's. Confused, I was looking around when Edward, grinning, approached me. What are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be getting ready? My preparations are quick. It's the bride that takes time. Should you be here, though? I want to greet the guests. But what are you doing? His delight was obvious. And I had a bad feeling about not finding my seat. Go on, tell me. I can't find my seat. At my response, Edward burst into loud laughter, clearly aware that there was no seat for me. His laughter drew the attention of others around us. Yeah, right? You're an uninvited guest, coming here so carefree. What do you mean? There's no seat for you, obviously. But why is there a seat for my husband and not for me? My question only made Edward laugh even more, his amusement clearly annoying me. So, that guy is your husband? You should stop your delusions. Do you even know who he is? You're living in a different world. If you're going to fantasize about marriage, at least choose someone more ordinary. Edward was laughing so hard he was in tears. His attitude was extremely offensive, and I was getting increasingly irritated. So, you never intended to invite me? You just wanted to mock me? He just nodded and grinned at my words. It's your punishment for dumping me. Trash like you should just leave. It seemed like his way of getting back at me for refusing to reconcile during our divorce. It was unbelievable, but he still held a grudge after all these years. And surely, this person must not realize the gravity of the situation. I'll leave right now. I replied emotionlessly, and he chuckled, thinking I was upset. I'm the only one getting happy, sorry about that. But it's your fault, you know? Your unhappiness is your own doing. Take this as a lesson. Pointing at me with a smug face, Edward watched as I walked out of the venue. As I headed towards the exit, my husband David hurried after me. Hey! Where are you going? Oh, sorry. I'm going home. When I said that, David realized something was wrong and looked serious. What happened? Well, actually, I told him about the earlier events, and he silently put his arm around my shoulder. Let's go home. But you can stay. They had a seat for you. Don't talk nonsense. There's no point in staying at a place that treats my important wife like that. I could tell that David was quietly furious. Thanks to him, I managed to calm down from my irritation. I felt grateful all over again for marrying him. As we were about to leave the venue, an elderly man approached us. Mr. Johnson, are you leaving already? Yes. My wife was insulted. I don't want to stay in such a place. Insulted? By whom? One of your employees. The groom, he's your employee, right? What? Is that true? Yes. My wife didn't even have a seat. I've never been so insulted. Excuse us. The man David and I had spoken to seemed to be the president of Edward's company. Throughout the conversation, David maintained a cool demeanor, slightly nodding to the flustered president before we left. Are you sure that was okay, acting like that with him? It's fine. I'm not good at faking niceness, and that was me holding back. Thank you. Don't thank me for that. No, really. It was very reassuring. I feel much calmer now. Did you fall for me all over again? I sure did. We left the venue laughing together, like a couple of love-struck fools. After David and I had gone home, back at the reception. Congratulations on your wedding, Edward. Director. Thank you for attending today. It's impressive. You invited the president and his wife from EMS Corporation, the company we've been eager to sign a contract with. Inside the venue, Edward and his unaware superior were conversing cheerfully, oblivious to the unfolding situation. Of course, unknown to Edward, my husband and he had never met. However, Edward, aware that his company was eager to secure a contract with EMS Corporation, had sent an invitation to the president of EMS Corporation, my husband, as a gamble for his own promotion. He was unaware of the connection between me and his targeted business contact. Where's the president of EMS Corporation? I'd like to talk to him. He should be at that table over there. Oh. He's not there. Maybe he's at the restroom. Perhaps. As they were conversing, the company president, looking furious, approached Edward and the director. Seeing the president's angry expression, both Edward and the director visibly shrank back. What's the matter, President? What have you done? Mr. Johnson has left. What were you thinking? Johnson? The president of EMS Corporation left? What's going on, President? I just met Mr. Johnson at the entrance. He was quite upset, saying the groom insulted his wife. Me? Insult his wife? The atmosphere in the reception hall became tense, and everyone around started murmuring. Edward was confused and panicked. Insulting the wife of Mr. Johnson, who's known for being a loving husband. Did you really do that? That's impossible. His wife wasn't even here. No, she was here. Jessica Johnson. Hearing my name, Edward turned pale. Finally beginning to understand the gravity of the situation and starting to sweat. Jessica? Mr. Johnson's wife? What have you done? I'll fix this, just wait. I'll make it right. When you fail to fix this, you'll be held responsible. If the contract with Ems Corporation is terminated, it'll be a loss of $300 million. Edward gasped in fear. Meanwhile, David and I, having left the venue without eating, decided to dine out. Relieved from the tension, I felt suddenly famished. David, noticing this, suggested with a smile that we should enjoy a good meal before heading home. While we were discussing where to eat, my phone rang. It was Edward. David, realizing who it was, reached out to take the phone. But I shook my head, insisting on handling it myself. David hesitantly agreed. Hello? Get back here right now. The call from Edward, his tone betraying sheer panic, was clearly frantic. Who told you to leave? You did. Why didn't you tell me you were Mr. Johnson's wife? That's because you didn't believe me. Damn it. How was I supposed to know you remarried? Edward was either angry or panicking, his voice trembling over the phone. Finally, understanding the consequences of his actions. Just come back here, okay? No. I'm not coming back. Can you stop this already? You're in no position to refuse. What do you mean? You're my ex-wife, you should listen to what I say. Are you trying to ruin my wedding? His utterly selfish reasoning made me sigh. Just then, David, irritated by what he overheard, snatched the phone from my hand. Are you listening? I'm listening. Are you Mr. Johnson? You could use better manners. Oh. My apologies, Mr. Johnson. Please, could you and your wife come back to the venue? No. Why not? You know the reason better than anyone. Explain it to the president and the director. They should understand. But my career! You know well what you did was wrong. We're busy, so goodbye. David ended the call and turned to me with a reassuring smile. So, what do you want to eat? His words comforted me, and I linked arms with him again. Later, we enjoyed a full course and drinks at a French restaurant with a beautiful night view, spending our time smiling and laughing. Back at the reception, Edward was frantic. After being hung up on by David, and unable to get through again, he was panicking. If he couldn't resolve this issue, it could mean not just a halt to his career progression, but potentially a demotion or even losing his job. Edward, in the groom's room making phone calls, had rudely told the venue staff not to bother him even as they tried to prompt him for the reception preparations. The staff, intimidated by his outburst, hesitated to approach him, causing a delay in the start of the reception. Then the director entered the groom's room. Is the issue resolved? Well, it seems Mrs. Johnson wasn't feeling well and had to go home. Is that true? Yes. So we have no choice but to start the reception. If that's the case, then we must proceed. Edward thought he had managed to deceive the director, but the director's expression suddenly changed. Thought you could fool me, did you? What? I heard you were insulting Mrs. Johnson in the reception hall. Several employees saw it. Edward's face fell as he remembered the incident. Many colleagues and other guests had witnessed his behavior, providing plenty of eyewitness accounts. Things might have been lighter for you if you had just been honest. The CEO got angry after hearing from the employees and left. What? Even the CEO? I had high hopes for you, Edward, but this is disappointing. I've been with this company for a long time, and I've never seen the CEO that angry. Brace yourself. After saying this, the director left the break room. Left alone, Edward collapsed to his knees, going pale. His plan was probably to frame me, but he was shocked as things took an unexpected turn, landing him in the worst situation. Despite the circumstances, the wedding had to go on, so reluctantly, he started preparing for the reception at the urging of the staff. When they entered the reception hall, the bride and groom were shocked. Astonishingly, the number of guests from Edward's side had significantly decreased. Edward's parents confronted him, demanding an explanation, and the bride did the same. The CEO and director were nowhere to be seen, nor were the other colleagues. The reception was out of the question now. Actually, everyone was busy today and said they might have to leave early. What? During a wedding? That can't be right. Right. Today coincided with an important event at the company. You never mentioned that. Cornered with no time to make excuses, Edward reluctantly started to explain the situation. However, he didn't tell the truth, instead claiming he had inadvertently been disrespectful to the wife of the CEO of EMS Corporation, not realizing who she was. Edward's parents and relatives were so appalled and beyond anger that they were just disbelieving, and the bride's family reacted similarly. But the bride stood by Edward, suggesting they apologize together and seek forgiveness. Though they tried to continue the wedding, both families, concerned about appearances, decided to cancel the reception. They returned the gifts to the remaining guests, planning to hold a reception at a later date. A few days later, Edward and his wife received a call from her husband. "Today, I got a call from Edward at my office." "Oh? What did he say?" While having dinner, the husband casually relayed the conversation as if he had bumped into a neighbor. "He wanted to apologize for the rudeness at the wedding." How did you respond?" "I told him he's apologizing to the wrong person." "I see. Poor thing, his wife." "I didn't take it seriously. It was clear he was just apologizing for his own benefit. Besides, I had already received an apology from the other company's CEO, so I left the matter to them." "That's probably for the best. I wouldn't want to deal with them either." "Yeah. And, the husband told me about what happened at the venue after we left, as he had heard it from Edward's company's CEO. I couldn't help but laugh, thinking it was all self-inflicted. Really, it's laughable. I can't believe such a person is part of the working world." "Exactly. And now the groom who didn't arrange a seat for me doesn't have one for himself." "Nice one." I had no interest in Edward's situation, hoping that this would be the last we'd have to deal with him. A few weeks later. Surprisingly, I received a call from Edward. Thinking he was calling to apologize to me after my husband told him he was apologizing to the wrong person, I answered the phone. "Hello? Hey! Fix this mess!" I thought it was an apology call, but I was startled by the sudden yelling and almost dropped my phone. "Because of you, my family found out you were at the wedding. My parents and wife too." "What?" According to Edward, his parents didn't know that my husband's wife was me at the wedding day and only found out later. They confronted Edward, asking why he invited his ex-wife to the wedding. "My parents were angry when they called, and my wife was there. She heard them over the phone." Then, after hearing this, his wife questioned Edward, leading him to finally confess the truth. "My wife started crying and went back to her parents' house. My parents have disowned me." A few days later, his wife's parents called, suggesting they get divorced. Edward was worried about his situation worsening if they divorced, especially after the wedding fiasco had already made things difficult with friends and relatives. Additionally, he was demoted at work, where many colleagues knew about the incident, making work awkward. I didn't care about his problems. "This is all your fault. How are you going to take responsibility? Hey! Are you listening? Finished talking? It was so long I just put it on speaker and did some housework. I'm off today." "What? You're mocking me." I hadn't fully listened to Edward's long rant. But I got the gist. "Don't you understand your own situation? What? You're in no position to blame me. You should be apologizing. Everything is your own doing. Self-inflicted. No, it's your fault." "How is it my fault? I left because you told me to. Also, who invites their ex to their wedding? That's, Your wife is the real victim here. She's been put through so much by you. You should give her a divorce. Your victims aren't just me, but your wife, her parents, and even my husband." Okay, I apologize. Just help me out here." "I can't. It's not my place to intervene. Ever heard of karma? This is like a boomerang to you." "Don't say that. Help me." "I'm about to leave, so I'm hanging up." "Oh, and don't contact me again. If you do, I'll have my husband deal with it." "Please. I'm really sorry." I hung up before Edward could say more. I felt relieved having said my piece. Afterwards, he called several times, but I ignored them. When I told my husband, he laughed and said I did well. The next day, Edward even showed up at my husband's office, but was escorted out by security. A few days later, I got a call from an unknown number. "Hello? Sorry for the sudden call. Is this Mrs. Johnson?" "Yes, it is." I'm Edward's wife. To my surprise, it was Edward's wife on the phone. At first, I was wary, but as we talked, I realized she was a very sensible person. I'm truly sorry for the inconvenience caused. It was never my intention. No need to worry. You didn't know, did you? Yes, I thought you were just a colleague from his company. But still, I'm sorry for the trouble caused at my wedding. Please don't worry about it anymore. You've been through a lot, haven't you? Take care of yourself now. Thank you for your kind words. Hearing her cry on the phone, I felt sorry for her. There was nothing I could do, but it hurt to see someone get hurt because of him. Are you getting a divorce? Yes. I can't trust him anymore. I never imagined he would do something like this. We're currently going through mediation. According to her, her family owns a business and isn't short on money. So, during the mediation, she's not asking for alimony but only wants him to cover the wedding expenses. That's good to hear. I believe you'll find happiness far greater than what you've suffered. I divorced that man and remarried my current husband, and I've never been happier. I hope so. Thank you for your concern. There's not much I can do, but I wish you all the happiness in the world. With those words, we ended the call. Afterwards, Edward got divorced. Unable to cope with the uncomfortable situation at his company, he resigned voluntarily. It turns out, his recent remarriage was to a wealthier partner, and Edward, having relied on this, didn't worry about money. However, he had squandered his own savings on gambling and lavish gifts to hostesses before the marriage. As a result, he was unable to pay for the wedding expenses and found himself in debt. After losing his job, he hurriedly looked for work and found a job with accommodation. Initially, he thought he was lucky, but upon starting, he realized it was hard labor with low pay. The living conditions were poor, with a rundown shared bathroom and toilet, and he struggled to repay his debt while barely making ends meet. As for me, I stopped receiving calls from Edward and enjoyed a peaceful life. I received updates from Edward's ex-wife, which gave me a sense of closure. Shortly after, I found out I was pregnant. My husband and I were thrilled, and he even started buying toys in excitement. We shared the news with both families, who were equally delighted, and a baby crib was already set up. Even though there was still half a year until the due date. Living in such happiness, I feel I might be the happiest person, spending my days content and healthy.